Hey everyone, it's Ethan Ormis back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another album review. Today we're going to be reviewing Juice WRLD's Fighting Demons. Of course, just up there. No, okay. I'm just gonna. Oh, there. Sorry, right there. I just was looking at myself trying to do that. Anyways, yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. I never actually made a video about this album last year, and it is the 1 year anniversary to Fighting Demons, so figured I'd absolutely give you guys a video. I'm not going to do just the original. I'm going to do the full deluxe, which obviously came out a couple months later, but I'm not going to talk about Rich and Blind and Legends because that should be considered its own project, in my opinion. I don't like that they added it to that. Just don't think it should be on there, but with that being said, let's talk about this album. So we'll go through song by song, as I normally do for albums. I got some Fighting Demons merch on. I got my cigarette shirt. I have a Fighting Demons long sleeve in my closet as well. So yeah, but also I guess I have all four colors of. Well, I believe there are four colors of the Fighting Demons vinyl. So that's pretty cool as well. But with that being said, let's actually talk about this album. So we'll start it off with the intro track, which is Burn. Burn is incredible. This was an unreleased grail for me before the song was released. I love this song. I do wish that they still gave the production credit to, I believe it was Rex Kudo that originally produced the song. Pretty much the only differences from the original production to this production is the drum pattern that Metro had kind of changed. And then the added gunshots, plus the added like violin at the start of the song. So not much of it was changed. I don't think it should just be considered to be Metro Boomin's production, but that's just my opinion. So with that being said, Burn, still an absolute banger. One of my favorite songs from this album, of course. And yeah, incredible. Again, this was an unreleased grail for me, so I'm really glad that it did end up getting released. But let's move on to Already Dead. Now, Already Dead is another banger. Well, it's just an incredible song. I love this song. It's been one of my most played songs from this album over the past year as well, and I've always loved this song ever since it first came out. So yeah, moving on to You Wouldn't Understand. You Wouldn't Understand is a lot like Conversations for me, where I wasn't a huge fan of it when it was first released, but it's grown on me a lot. I love Conversations now, and I really like You Wouldn't Understand a lot now. Again, it grew on me for sure because this wasn't really a song I was ever revisiting at the start of the album, but again, it's grown on me quite a lot. Then we'll move on to the, I guess, second and final lead single for the album, which is Wander to LA. Some of you know it as Hotel Room. I have listened to the original version since this one was released. I'm not sure which one I prefer more. Obviously, Hotel Room's production is much slower, which I actually feel like would have suited the album theme a little bit better. I do like the Justin Bieber feature. I don't think it's really needed. Half of the features on this album I don't think are really needed, but one thing I really love about Wander to LA is the way that Juice is singing on the chorus. Like, the way that he raises his vocal cords in the chorus is really surprising because it was something I had never heard for me. So it really caught me off guard, and I absolutely loved it, and I still do love it. I think it's a great song. I think Justin Bieber's feature is basically just a feature to have a feature. But with that being said, we'll move on to the next unreleased grail that was released, which is Cigarettes, of course. Cigarettes and Sometimes were two of the biggest, if not, no, they were the two biggest unreleased Juice songs, apart from Moonlight, which is now the biggest, although Rental is getting close. There's pretty close to Moonlight now. But yeah, Cigarettes and Sometimes, of course, both released in some deluxe versions of the album. There's a few or a couple, so yeah, but we'll talk about Cigarettes first. So Cigarettes, again, an absolute grail, but honestly, for both Cigarettes and Sometimes, I know the songs weren't changed, but I liked it more when it was unreleased for some reason. I don't know. I listened to it more when it was unreleased as well, especially Sometimes, but I do love both of these songs. They are both incredible, and they are two of my favorite songs on this album. At one point, Cigarettes was my most played song and my favorite song on this album, and at one point, Sometimes was my favorite song and most played song from the album. So with that being said, we actually will move on to Sometimes, and this was one of Taylor's favorite songs when we were together. She absolutely loved Sometimes, and we had a very strong emotional connection to Sometimes because it was one of our favorite songs to listen to even before it was released. So yeah, and then when it was released, it became even more relevant, I guess, to us. So that was pretty cool. But let's move on to Eminem Speaks now. This is a pretty sad interlude, I'll say, because obviously Eminem went through some drug addiction. He got very fortunate getting out of that, and I remember one of my friends, Matt. He's a huge Eminem fan, and I remember he said when he first listened to that track, it just made him cry because he's seen that interview before, and it's just super sad, especially being a big fan of the artist. You know, I can only imagine what that would really feel like. But yeah, we'll move on to Rockstar in His Prime, which is, it might still be my favorite song on this album. I'm really not sure. I've really, really struggled to I don't know, figure out what my favorite song from this album is. It's changed so much, and I'll give you my list at the end of what my favorite songs are. But Rockstar in His Prime was one of my biggest unreleased grails before this album came out last year. And I found this song in the summer of 2021, and I absolutely loved it. I listened to it every day until it was released. When I had seen the track list that it was going to be released, I was so beyond excited. And listening to the Rockstar in His Prime studio session is awesome, just showing how quick Juice can make a song. It's really, really great. But with that being said, we'll move on to Doom. Doom is one of the three songs on this album that I don't really revisit. I know a lot of people like Doom. A lot of people love Doom. I was expecting to really like this song, but I do like it, but it's not been one I'm revisiting. This is one of the songs in Juice's catalogs that is close to a skip, but it's not a skip for me. I would still listen to it, but I'm never really going out of my way to listen to it. There is a few songs on this album like that, which is why this is kind of my least favorite of these, this is why this is my least favorite of the solo Juice WRLD projects. So yeah, Doom, I think it's good. I really don't think it's anything special. I'm not a huge fan of the production. That's a big issue for me. So yeah, but with that being said, we'll move on to Go Hard. Of course, this was a very anticipated single for a lot of people, especially with the Uzi feature, which we did not end up getting, which was surprising. I don't really know why, but yeah, people loved this song and were rooting for this song. This was, of course, the song showed in the Party Never Ends trailer, which we eventually never got. I think we're eventually going to get it. It sounds like we're going to sometime next year. In 2023, we shall see. Obviously, I don't think Go Hard would be on that, just since there's two versions on the Fighting Demons. But yeah, Go Hard. I love the production on this song, but honestly, this is one of the very rare circumstances where I find Juice is actually kind of outperformed by the production. Like, I don't even know if I've ever actually said that about any other song in Juice's catalog. I love the production, but honestly, I don't know, just not a huge fan of the chorus. The chorus just really brings this song down for me. This is one of the other songs where I'm like, I'll listen to it, but it's almost a skip, you know? So it sucks because I love the verse on this song, and I've listened to the Uzi one. I honestly don't understand the hype it gets. I don't think it's that great either. I just don't think Go Hard is that great of a song, but Go Hard 2.0 is better in my opinion. The added verse I think is a lot better than the original verse that was just released, and I really, really like it. Again, I was never really a big fan of any version of Go Hard, whether it's the original, the 2.0, or the unreleased with Uzi. I don't really care for any of them that much. I very rarely go out of my way to put any of them on, and if I do, it would be the 2.0. It is my favorite version. But yeah, with that being said, we'll move on to Juice WRLD Speaks, which is another really sad interlude, of course, but Juice talks about some serious things in these Juice WRLD Speaks interludes, and I love them, especially number 2, which we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, again, this is another really sad interlude, to say the least. So with that being said, we'll move on to Not Enough, which I believe a lot of people knew as Out of Luck before the song was released. I do remember hearing this song before it was released, but I never actually listened to it, or hearing about the song, but I never actually listened to it until the album was released. So I really like this song though. It was definitely one of my most played at the start of the album run, I guess, but it's kind of fallen off in my appeal towards it. I do still really like it, but it's not one I've been revisiting lately. But I did absolutely love this song at one point, and I still do like it a lot. So, but with that being said, we'll move on to Feline, which Feline was another unreleased grail for me. I fucking love Feline. I do like the added features of Polo and Trippy. I don't think they're needed, but Trippy has an incredible verse. It's one of my favorite Trippy and Juice collabs. Trippy's verse is absolutely incredible. Polo's is similar to the other features on this album, where I think it's just a feature to add to a song, but Trippy's is incredible. I absolutely love what Trippy is doing on his verse. I think it is absolutely peak Trippy. I love what he's doing. I love his verse. I love his flow. It's incredible. But with that being said, we'll move on to Relocate, which is another absolutely great song on this album. Of course, the start of the song is Juice's mother talking about how Juice was, and he was just very easygoing to, I guess, help his mother out, and he was very fortunate that he was able to do that, and she was very thankful for that. But yeah, Relocate is another great song, and I guess now we move on to the final interlude of this album, which is Juice WRLD Speaks To, and this was, of course, shown in the documentary, I believe. I still have not yet to watch the documentary. I'm still very skeptical to watch it. I've seen some clips of it, and it really upsets me, and it makes me really sad, so I haven't gotten around to watching it yet, but I really need to, and it is on my watch list, but it just makes me really anxious and sad, just because I've seen that clip of him just being coked out, and I just don't want to see that, so I haven't gotten around to actually watching it yet. But I love this. I love this. Of course, it's not an official song. There is production to it. Of course, Juice is just freestyling, and that part towards the end of the song is so sad. Let me just skip to it, and we'll talk about those lyrics, because it's super sad. Let me see, where is it? Oh, 1 second. Oh yeah, so yeah, this part, it's so sad. Okay, yeah, I gotta admit myself on these drugs, feel like I can't save myself. Sometimes I want to take myself and break myself so I can reshape myself. Nobody ever felt the pain I felt. And yeah, that's really sad. Of course, I think this is one of Juice's most sad songs, to be fair, in his entire released catalog, at least. But maybe just in general, from what we've heard, or from what I've heard at least, it's a very sad song, and unfortunately very emotional. But yeah, shout out to Rex, really great production on this song as well, and this was one of my favorite songs, and still is one of my favorite songs from this album. But this, I mean, really, this 6 or 7 song run from Not Enough to From My Window is absolutely incredible. But moving on to Until the Plug Comes Back Around, which I believe used to be called Ration before it was released. Another just fantastic song, bro. I love the production. I feel like it's a very unique production. I love everything about this song. At one point, this was my most played song, and this was my favorite song from the album as well. But love this song. It's fantastic. Now, we're actually going to my most played song currently of this album, which is From My Window. I think overall, I've probably listened to Sometimes or Rockstar in His Prime the most because of unreleased and released. But From My Window has been my most played since this album has come out. It's been my most played from Fighting Demons this year, which is great. I love this song. The guitar is phenomenal. I love the chorus. It's super catchy. I think this should be, and is, I mean, it is, but, excuse me, it is one of the most popular songs on the album, but I think it deserves to be because it's just fantastic. The guitar and the chorus, just vibey. I just love it so much. So, with that being said, we'll move on to the final song on this album, where it's kind of meh. I do like the song. I'm never really going out of my way to listen to it, but it is enjoyable. We've got Girl of My Dreams, and there's like 5 songs that Juice has made that you could call Girl of My Dreams, and I think that's kind of funny, but I do like this song. I'm not a huge fan of the BTS feature, although I do like what he is talking about, kind of going the opposite way of what Juice is talking about. But this is actually Taylor, or at one point, this was Taylor's most played song of the year. She really loves this song. She really loves both the BTS songs. I love All Night, but All Night is a hell of a lot better than Girl of My Dreams, in my opinion. So, with that being said, we'll move on to At One Point, which was my favorite song on this album, which is Feel Alone. It still might be my favorite song on this album. I've gone through a couple phases with it. I was in a really bad spot earlier this year. I was very depressed, and this was my most played song. I listened to this song on the daily on repeat. And yeah, I love Feel Alone. Again, this might be one of Juice's most sad songs as well. And it's really, really sad. But I love it. And I'm not a huge fan of repetitiveness throughout a song or throughout a chorus, but it just works so well in this song, in my opinion. But with that being said, we'll move on to the outro, which is My Life in a Nutshell. And this is a similar song to You Wouldn't Understand, where I wasn't a huge fan of it when the song came out, but since has grown on me quite a lot. But overall, yeah, I mean, I was never really a big fan of it, but it has grown on me a lot. This isn't a song I've been revisiting a lot lately, but again, this is a very enjoyable song that I really like. So, yeah, At One Point, my favorite songs on this album, or there's like 7 different songs on this album that were my favorite. Let me just go through it. So, Burn at one point was my favorite. Already Dead at one point was my favorite. Cigarettes at one point was my favorite. Sometimes at one point was my favorite. Rockstar in His Prime at one point was my favorite. Feline at one point was one of my favorite, or was my favorite, sorry. Until the Plug Comes Back Around at one point was my favorite. From My Window at one point was my favorite. And Feel Alone at one point was my favorite. So almost half of this album at one point was my favorite song on this album. And it's not like that for the other albums. For Goodbye and Good Riddance, it's always been Lucid Dreams, and there's never been anything close to it. For World on Drugs, it's changed a little bit. There's been like 2 or 3 songs, really. For Death Race, it's only ever been Robbery and Empty, but that, yeah, hasn't never really changed. For Legends, it's always only ever been Blood on My Jeans. But yeah, this album, there's like 10 songs almost. That's just been my favorite at one point or another. The highs on this album are so high, but in my opinion, the lowest in Juice's catalog is also on this album. Solo-wise, I'm not going to talk about World on Drugs that much, but World on Drugs, to clarify, is my least favorite Juice album out of all of these. But yeah, well, released. I'll say released on Apple Music and Spotify. So yeah, with overall, guys, I do think Fighting Demons is still an amazing project. I love this project. I really do. Again, there are a couple of lower points on this where I'm not a huge fan of some things, but there isn't a single song on this I would skip. So I still love this, and well, happy birthday, Juice. Of course, he would have been 24 this week. Rest in peace. Yeah. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.